Hi, I'm Artemis,
And I'm Hannah.
and this is episode 10 of MakeShift Podcast. With special guest.
Dextry.
So, on today's episode, we are going to be just talking a lot about some of the DR memories that we've gotten from our specific DRs. We had an episode in season 1 where we talked about what DR memories are and how people get them and how we get them specifically. And so today we're just going to talk about a bunch of the ones we've gotten, starting with a lot that we've gotten from our shared Once Upon a Time DR, which I think is where we've got the majority of
Yeah.
our memories from. And we're going to try to do it in chronological order. It may not be perfectly exact, but I think that's what we're going to try for.
We should be
Um,
able to at least keep it within the seasons.
yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which does mean that the first one is just like, because I have a whole thing that happens before any of the story that we see in the show actually happens. So I'm gonna have to like delve into my backstory. Like my backstory involves stuff that actually happens before I'm born, like probably thousands of years before. So I'm gonna have to like go look at my notes on my phone and remember what this whole backstory is that I got memories of.
I actually think it's a good point to say that it's so great that we get DR memories, but this is a great example of the fact that my memory sucks here. So if I don't write them down, I'm gonna forget.
Oh, and I forgot the Regina Takes My Heart one that I have no idea where or when that happens. I'll do that after the dark one memory, I guess. Okay. So, context. I am from a realm that I th I'm not sure if I'm actually from the Enchanted Forest or if I'm from a whole separate realm, but I do know that where I end up is the realm of sweets, which is where Clara goes in the Nutcracker Ballet, which apparently is also Candyland, like the board game Candyland. And I've gotten an entire backstory, like history of the realm of sweets and how it ended up where it is at the point when I go there. So a long, long, long time ago, probably thousands of years in the past, was when Queen Frostine and King Candy and Princess Lolly and all the characters that you know from the board game actually existed and lived in the realm of sweets. And I think that what happened was, I think it's Lord Licorice. I'm not sure that it's Lord Licorice, but it's either Lord Licorice or there's like someone from the board game who he wants to marry Queen Frostine, who rejects him and marries King Candy instead. And then years later, he decides to try again for the throne by marrying Princess Lolly, their daughter, and she is also not having it. And the king and queen banish him from the realm because he keeps trying to get the throne and keep like by marrying.
Can I
Yes.
just say, you know how the other day, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had told you I had a random dream about Candyland slash the realm of sweets, and then that was literally the whole dream. What you just described, that was what my whole dream was.
Okay, so you had a memory of the history that
That's
I got from
that's
That's
actually
Wild.
really that's so funny. I'm so sorry because I thought it was a dream. I didn't even think like twice about it because I was like, I don't know. I don't even think I go to this like realm.
Yeah, that's
And I had
wild.
this whole dream of like literally just that whole thing and like being in that's weird. Sorry. This is like almost deja vu-y, but dream memories.
Wild.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think what happens is, oh, okay, so I wrote this out. So when Queen Frostine originally rejected, I think it's Lord Licorice, I'm not sure. He is like feels like horrible and bitter about it and is like he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna take over the throne from her in revenge. And that's when he decides that he's going to try to woo Princess Lolly, but she's not interested. But he keeps trying and she keeps rejecting him, and it's not great. And at this point, Drosselmeyer from the Nutcracker story, who is alive at this point, I think realm jumpers have like really extended lifespans, probably because they're constantly jumping through different realms that have that where time works differently. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure if it's actually that realm jumpers have extended lifespans or if it's just that Drosselmeyer spent so much time in the realm of sweets. And the realm of sweets is kind of frozen in time a little bit the way Neverland is, where people don't age in the same way, at least not yet. We're getting to that. Uh, but Drosselmeyer is there at this point, and I think is either like a good friend of Queen Frostine, who, by the way, was the original fairy of the Realm of Sweets. In our reality, I've gotten memories that every realm has like a fairy that is sort of like the fairy of that realm. Like Tinkerbell is or becomes eventually the fairy of Neverland, and the blue fairy is the fairy of the Enchanted Forest. And the snow fairy is, I think, the fairy of Arendelle. And Princess Lurlina is the fairy of Oz. I don't know if Pixie Hollow exists in our reality, but if it does, Queen Clarion is obviously the fairy of Pixie Hollow, which is where all the fairies originate from anyway. So I'm not sure. I guess she would be like the queen of all the fairies. Unless Titania shows up, in which case she would be the queen of the fairies. I don't know. I'm like going on a tangent here. But anyway, Queen Frostine, queen of Candyland slash Realm of Sweets, and also the original fairy of that realm. And I believe that Drosselmeyer is her advisor, but I do know that she's like a close friend. So when probably Lord Licorice is trying to get Princess Lolly's hand and she's not having it, Drosselmeyer intervenes. And at the bequest of the queen, this is after he's been like, they try to banish him and he keeps coming back. And so Drosselmeyer turns him into a mouse and is like officially banished from the kingdom. So like he's a mouse, but he's like conscious in a way that like in the show we see them turn people into beetles and they're just beetles at that point. But when he's turned into a mouse, he's like an intelligent mouse. So as a mouse, he swears vengeance on the entire royal family and their line and like vows to come back and destroy them and become king of take over the realm at any cost. And he's banished from the realm, but he does manage to somehow mess up the time of the realm so that time starts moving in the realm. And so instead of like Princess Lolly and Queen Frostine and King Candy ruling for eternity in there, time starts moving and they start having descendants. And so thousands of years go by. So Lord Licorice has now turned into the Mouse King from the Nutcracker. This is like such a weird, complicated. The fact that I got these memories and I'm like, this feels exactly like a Once Upon a Time plot. This is like
Oh no,
exactly how it.
100%.
This is exactly how it works. It's just.
That's how you know it's real.
That's how I know it's real because it's exactly the kind of like weird, twisty plot lines combining different fairy tales that Once Upon a Time would have. I was so shocked to learn that the Realm of Sweets was also Candyland. I like just blew my mind. But anyway, so now he is the Mouse King. He's become the Mouse King, and he has like an army is the wrong word, but he has like a following of of mice that are slightly more intelligent than regular mice. They don't turn into humans, but they're just slightly more intelligent than regular mice. And so he's been, I guess, apparently has also been living for an extended period of time as a mouse and has been like biding his time, plotting his revenge, waiting for the right time. And I guess there's a moment years later when I guess the whatever magic is keeping him out of the realm is weak enough. Like there's a weak spot or something. I don't know how, but he manages to get back in. And the Nutcracker, who at this point is not a Nutcracker, it's just the current princess of the Realm of Sweets. I still don't have a name for the Nutcracker. I'm so frustrated by this. I've gotten names for so many of the other people involved, but I can't get the Nutcracker's name. And I think part of it is because the Nutcracker's name is a name that does not exist in this reality. I think it's a name that is like from a culture that exists only in our DR, and therefore the name doesn't exist here. And so no matter how many names I look at, none of them feel right because the name doesn't exist. So I think that's probably what's happening. So I'm just going to call her the Nutcracker, but like she has an actual name. And at this point, she's not a Nutcracker. So the Mouse King now comes in, and I'm guessing that he's gotten some magic from whoever the current Dark One is. And I think this is pre-Rumpelstiltskin. So I don't think this is Rumpelstiltskin. I think this is one of the previous dark ones. I don't have like exactly where in the timeline is, but I'm still getting the feeling that this happens before most of the stuff that we understand in the story happens. Gets some magic from whoever the current dark one is and uses it to turn the princess of the realm of sweets into a nutcracker doll and banishes her to some realm where she's shielded by magic, and Drosselmeyer, who is still alive. So I think realm jumpers, I think, do probably have extended lifespans because Drosselmeyer has been like protecting and watching out for the royal family this whole time. So Drosselmeyer can't find her. So Drosselmeyer now leaves the realm of sweets to go find the princess, and the Mouse King is able to come take over the realm of sweets. So now the realm of sweets is in the hands of the Mouse King. He's completed his revenge. He's taken control. He's, not a great ruler, obviously, and the people who are still stuck in that realm are like not having a great time under his rule, obviously. So the Nutcracker princess is, I believe she's been banished to what I have called the dancing realm, which is this sort of like, I think it's like some sort of like liminal space that I end up in the first time I realm jump, and we'll get to that in a minute. So Drosselmeyer goes off seeking the Nutcracker princess and is unable to find her for many, many years. In the meantime, she has befriended my family. And when I am born as Clara, Drosselmeyer is my goddess mother instead of godmother, because obviously. So
Yeah.
Drosselmeyer is my goddess mother and is like a close family friend of my mother. And as a small child, I often have what I think are dreams where I go to a place where everyone's dancing. This is sort of bringing in the dancing princesses part of my story where like every night I'm like having dreams where I'm going dancing somewhere, but what I'm actually doing is realm jumping in my sleep. I just don't know that's what's happening because I'm too little to know that's what's happening. And I meet this nutcracker there, and I'm just like always dancing with this nutcracker doll. And then one day I tell Drosselmeyer about these dreams, and Drosselmeyer is like, oh shit, this kid is a realm jumper like me and has apparently found the nutcracker princess that I've been looking for however many years. And so she goes off to try to, like, now that she knows, okay, the Nutcracker Princess is in the dancing realm, she goes off to try to find her there. And she finds her, but she is unable to break the Nutcracker curse. So she's like, okay, I found the princess, but I can't turn her back into a human. So the next time I visit the dancing realm, the Nutcracker's gone. And I'm sad because I think that I'll never see my friend again. And I don't know that Drosselmeyer has found her and is trying to turn her back into a human. Later, when I'm in my teens, my family has a Yule party, and Drosselmeyer arrives with gifts for all the children. And to my astonishment, her gift to me is the Nutcracker from my dreams as a child. And I'm just like, she found my childhood friend. I didn't know that this was even necessarily real. I thought I dreamed all this. But like, here she is, my Nutcracker friend. Although she doesn't seem to be sentient the way she was in my dreams. She seems to be just a doll because I guess she was only able to be sentient in the dancing realm, but out of that, she's just a doll. But I'm like thrilled to see the Nutcracker doll. And that night after the Yule party, I sneak downstairs to see if the Nutcracker comes to life like she did when I was a child. And she does because, again, I'm what I'm actually doing is entering. I think the dancing realm is this sort of like liminal space that's like not fully real. It's like not fully dream, but not fully real. It's like this weird in between space. And this is why the Nutcracker is able to become active in this space. So I sneak downstairs and she comes to life, and for the next few weeks I sneak downstairs and I'm like dancing with her every night. And then one night the Mouse King has been realized that the Nutcracker Princess has been found and has been like, I'm like gonna go after her. So then one night the Mouse King finds us and attacks us. Unbeknownst to me, my younger brother Fritz, this is getting like so weird and twisty. I'm sorry. I hope you all are able to keep up with this, especially because I like keep going on tangents and forgetting the order of things. But this is the longest one. I promise this is the longest one because I got this whole wild and twisty backstory. And it's also like incorporating both the Nutcracker and the 12 Dancing Princesses. This is another way in which the 12 Dancing Princesses gets involved because my brother Fritz, who I think is like 11 at this time, has been wondering why I've been so tired during the day for the last week or so. And so he like follows me downstairs one night and sees it happens to be the night when the Mouse King attacks us. And so he tries to come to our aid, but the Mouse King kidnaps him and kills the Nutcracker. Drosselmeyer senses something is wrong and comes to find us and discovers the situation that we've been attacked by the Mouse King and the Nutcracker Princess has been killed, and I'm distraught. And this is where it gets very Once Upon a Time, where Drosselmeyer is like, give her a kiss goodbye, and then True Love's kiss wakes her up and breaks the curse, and she turns human again. Because of course it does, because it's fucking Once Upon a
Once
Time, and
upon a
that's what
time.
happens. And
Yep.
that's what happens. And I got this memory, and I was like, really? Really? This is what we're doing? And I'm like, okay, fine. It's Once Upon a Time. Why am I not surprised? Okay, fine. Fine. I'll roll with it. I'll roll with it. I'll roll with it. Whatever. So then my brother has still been kidnapped. So like the Mouse King still has my brother. The curse has been broken. The Nutcracker Princess is human again, but my brother is still missing. So we have to go find my brother, and Drosselmeyer is able to locate him, and the Nutcracker Princess and I chase the mice around through different realms trying to find him, and we finally come to the Enchanted Forest. Now I'm going to place us in the timeline. This is right around the time when Regina has met Tinkerbell for the first time. And she's already married the king and she's miserable, but she's still like young and she hasn't like taken on the evil queen role yet. She's just sort of like young and miserable, freshly married to the king. I think she's maybe been married to the king for like a year at this point. And Tinkerbell comes and finds her to try to help her find a new true love because she does not love the king. And her first love, Daniel, was killed by her mother. So Tinkerbell comes to try to convince her not to give up on love and not to turn bitter and to go find a new love. And so this is all happening while I've entered the realm looking for my brother. And in the show, what happens is that Tinkerbell leads Regina to a tavern where she sees a man with a lion tattoo, which, spoilers for the show, but who turns out to be Robin Hood. But she doesn't know. She doesn't see his face. She just sees the tattoo. And she chickens out and leaves. And basically, this same thing happens, except that it's me in there instead of Robin Hood. And I have a tattoo in this reality, which has transferred over to that reality. And so she sees that tattoo. So she sees me with the Nutcracker Princess in the tavern. She sees my tattoo, but she chickens out and she doesn't come in. Everything plays out normally apart from that. And oh, I forgot that this happened. I don't know how long.
If you don't write down the memories, you'll forget.
I know, because I don't know how long we spend looking for the Nutcracker or for my brother, because my initial memory was that the next part happens when Regina is the evil queen, but I'm not sure if she's like still young when this happens or if she's actually the evil queen when this happens. I don't know how long we're looking for my brother in the Enchanted Forest. But what I do know is that, and this is the part I forgot, we managed to convince Maleficent to help us somehow. And so Maleficent is like using her crystal ball or her divination scrying magic to help us find my brother. And what we see is my brother making an escape from the mice, them coming after him, Regina coming across this situation and rescuing him. And then I think, oh, this is another part I forgot. The snow fairy, who's apparently helping us, finds him and brings us back to us. And reunited, we all go home. And then, now that we're all together, we go take back the realm of sweets from the Mouse King. The Sugar Plum Fairy, who is now the current fairy of the realm of sweets. Originally, it was Queen Frostine. Now it's the Sugar Plum Fairy, has been leading the resistance while we've been gone. The only reason Drosselmeyer left was because the Sugar Plum Fairy was there to continue leading the resistance. And so we join with the Sugar Plum Fairy and we take back the kingdom. And the Sugar Plum Fairy welcomes back the Nutcracker Princess, thanks me for saving her. And oh my gosh, I think we're spending the next year or so fighting the resistance. Oh my gosh. But we do manage to take back the queendom from the Mouse King. And the Sugar Plum Fairy makes me an honorary queen of the realm. We clean up all the damage that the Mouse King had caused, And then we rule in peace for a few years, and I, make friends there, and I have a life there and all that. And then one day, at this point, I am like now in my 20s. So this is like an entire backstory. I've like gone from like, this is what happens in my childhood, and this is what happens when I'm a teenager. And now I'm like an adult in this reality. And like all of this has been happening. I wish I had like a written out timeline of this. I'm sorry this is taking so long. I'd forgotten how
No.
long all of this shit was. But then when I'm an adult and like after we've like cleaned up everything and things are going smoothly, Drosselmeyer comes to me and is like, "Hey, so you're a realm jumper and you've been figuring stuff out on your own and that's great, but like you should apprentice under me and I should like teach you everything I know and you should like I should be your mentor." At this point, by the way, time is once again moving the way it is supposed to in the realm of sweets, where it's kind of because again, the realm of sweets is sort of like Neverland in the sense that it's a place for like people to visit like in their dreams. And now time is back to the way it's supposed to be there. So I am able to like go spend years realm jumping around the place training with Drosselmeyer without the Nutcracker feeling like experiencing me being gone for years because it won't the time is weird, so when I come back it will only have been a short while. At least that's the impression that I've gotten. The other memory I've gotten is that realm jumpers are actually really good friends with mermaids because mermaids are also natural realm jumpers. They can travel between realms automatically. And so like magic realm jumpers like Drosselmeyer and I and also Dorothy and Alice are tend to be really like have an immediate connection and get along well naturally with the mermaids. And I think that I'm not sure if Ariel is in our reality or not.
I haven't gotten any actual memories
Yeah,
of her. I've just kind of gotten like, "Oh, well, if she's in there, then this is how this would go."
yeah, because we
So,
kind of like we de-Disneyified
a
our
lot of it.
reality a lot. So it's possible that Ursula, like young Ursula from the show, may actually be the Little Mermaid from the story and that fairy tale. It's possible that there's like two versions, like Ariel exists, but then also you've got Ursula's Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
whose name is Pearl, by the way. I did get that memory. But I don't know if there's like two separate ones or if it's just Pearl now. I haven't gotten any memories of that, so I don't know.
I mean, as soon as you said pearl, I was like, "Oh, so the mermaid with, like, the orangey yellow tail and the whole." Yeah, no, I think that's the color scheme I'm getting.
Actually, her tail is blue, but
Is it
or
blue?
it's kind of like blue white. Yeah, I'll send you a picture because the or it's purple. I don't know. Ursula's tail is purple, so it could be that. But if she's because when I think of the Little Mermaid, I think of like the name Pearl comes from the fairy tale theater version of the Little Mermaid that I grew up watching, and in that version, her tail is this kind of like bluish white color. So I don't know if she's gonna appear more like that or if she's gonna appear more like young Ursula in Once Upon a Time. So I run across it's either Ariel or it's Pearl Ursula. I'm not sure, but Regina has taken her voice away, and I'm like, wait, I remember this person. She's the one who saved my brother. Why is she taking people's voices? What's going on? And I hear all these rumors about her being the evil queen, and I'm like, what happened to her? What's so I'm just like, okay, I need to go talk to her. I never thanked her for rescuing my brother. And also, what the fuck is going on? So I end up back in the Enchanted Forest exactly when the curse happens. And so that's why I'm in Storybrooke. I'm not supposed to be there. I literally just like, I was there for all of like maybe 10 seconds. And then that's when the purple curse cloud comes up. And when I first wake up in Storybrooke, I'm just like, did I realm shift by accident? And I did get memories of waking up there and being so confused and just being like, where this doesn't feel like a realm shift. Wait, why does my head hurt? And then it's because I have two different sets of memories because realm jumpers, the curse works differently because like I already am able to jump between realms. So the curse doesn't work exactly the same way. So like I have all my memories, but I also have curse memories and they're both in my head at the same time. So I'm just like instant headache essentially. I just like wake up and I am like super confused and then the next thing I realize is that I have a migraine essentially. And I'm like looking around the town like What? Where are we? What's happening? And it's also funny because I remember being like, I have this specific memory of like leaning against the mirror with this massive headache, like I gotta find ibuprofen, and then being like, what the fuck is ibuprofen and why do I know what it is? Like that's the sort of like memories, like confusion, and then like
Yeah,
the headache gets worse, of course. So like that's the sort of confusion that I wake up in, is just like I know what all this modern technology stuff is, but I
but I
don't know
don't.
what it is. And it's really confusing to me. Honestly, I kind of imagine it's what it must be like for somebody to shift for the first time to a reality that is like massively different from this one, especially if you're like shifting to a reality that like there isn't like a book or a movie or whatever, that like you're just like, I would like to shift to like some planet in the future, and you just end up there and things are like weirdly different, but you've scripted that you like have all your memories. So like you know what shit is, but you don't know what shit is. That's kind of what I imagine this is like, this is this experience that I'm having in Storybrooke. And the coffee dancer from the Nutcracker is also apparently there. I don't know why she was in the Enchanted Forest. I'm pretty sure that her name is Huri. I'm not sure. I've gotten like some memories of people's names, but I think that's her name. And I discover her in Storybrooke under a different name. And I'm like, okay, she doesn't know who I am. We're really good friends in the realm of sweets. Like, I think the coffee dancer is like my best friend there next to the sugar plum
Yeah.
fairy. So she doesn't know who I am. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? And I eventually notice that Regina is the only one who doesn't seem to be like repeating the same day over and over again. And I'm like, somehow she's at the center of this, but I don't know how or why. Did she cause this? Did someone cast a curse on her? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. And I don't know exactly what happens after that, but I think I do something so that the 28 years does not pass as 28 years living the exact same day over and over again. I'm just like, I think maybe I have like just enough magic left in me to be like, I'm gonna like shift myself through time to wherever I'm able to understand what's going on. And that ends up being when you and Emma arrive. And I have a memory of seeing the clock move
Do
for the
you
first
really?
time. And well, I actually have a memory of watching. I think, okay, you know, in the show, how Regina is sitting there staring at the clock moving, and Archie comes up and goes, oh, how about that? I think I'm actually the one that comes up to her and is like, oh, how about that? The clock just moved. Because I have a distinct memory of watching Regina watching the clock.
That's so I actually also had gotten a memory of the clock moving, but it was the night that or it may have been the night that it happened, but I didn't process it. But I woke up to the clock chiming the next morning and being like, the clock chime? That hasn't happened the last 2 days I've been here. What's going on? And I like see the clock moving and I'm like, huh, interesting. All right, cool. So it's funny that we like, because that was one of the things that I wasn't expecting to get a memory of because it's just really random, like a clock tower working
Mm.
normally in the middle of town. That should not be a random memory, but that's so funny that we both
Yeah.
have memories of that.
Yeah, well, but for me, it actually means something because I have seen the clock not move for the last
Yeah,
28 years.
exactly.
Even if it has only felt like a day to me, I still like
You know how much time
I
has
ha
passed.
I have all the memories of the time passing, even though I haven't felt it passing, and it feels like I'm used to time being funky because I've spent so much time in the realm of sweets and
Yeah.
traveling through realms, including I think I've been to Neverland before, probably. So I've like been all over the place. So I'm used to time being wonky and like my memories of time being wonky. Yeah, so I see the clock move and I'm like, something's happening. I don't know what's happening. Something's happening. Cause like I know what it feels like to be like in a time loop, and
Yeah.
time just started moving again. I know that. So then the only other memories I've gotten from like season one are the first time we meet.
Mhm.
I'm like out dancing in a thunderstorm because of course I am, and you like see me and you come start dancing with me.
Yep.
And then like I have lots of memories of just like us taking walks on the beach and just like chatting about just stuff and
Just
becoming
stuff. Yeah.
friends. And then the other memory I have is seeing August talking to either you or Emma or Henry or all of you like with the book, and I see the book and I hear him like talking about fairy tales and magic, and I wait until all of you are gone and I corner him and I'm like, what do you know? Tell me everything. I don't know how I haven't come across Jefferson in all this time, because you'd think that he and I would have talked about this, because Jefferson is the only other person that has two sets of memories in this town. But I guess I've just never come across him, I guess, because otherwise
I
we would
like
have
to
talked
think
about
that
it.
he wasn't allowed to leave his house until until time started moving again. And then once time
That's
started
really
moving,
sad.
he was finally able to leave, and that's part of what drove him.
No wonder he's so messed up. Poor guy. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I corner August and I am like, no, you were gonna tell me what you know right now. And this is when I realized that Regina is actually the one that cast the curse. And now I'm like, now I really need to talk to her. What happened to this woman? That is the catalyst for me being where I am in season 2, and like being around Regina and befriending her, and a lot of season 2 is different because of that.
Mhm.
So that was really long. If you sat through all of that and actually, if you followed all of that, I applaud you, because that was kind of all over the place and I really should have prepared better. I literally had this all written out in a way that actually felt cohesive, but when I started trying to say it, it
It,
didn't come out as cohesive as I wrote it, even though I was reading it,
yep.
whatever. So now that I've gotten like my long history of the realm of sweets out of the way, you have a bunch of memories from season 1.
I do. So for my memories for season 1, I don't have a whole lot of like super detailed ones. So I'm just gonna kind of like go down my list here. Let's see. I think the first one that happens is the night after Emma like had booked a room, and I'm staying at Granny's B&B like down the hall from where I think Emma is staying, and I hear a knock down the hall, and I think it's my door, and I open it and nobody's there. I like poke my head out and I see Regina standing in front of Emma's door with a giant basket of apples. And I found it super bizarre, confusing, and random. Like I heard their whole exchange and was like, what is happening right now? Who is this person? Why are they talking to this random girl who I watched check in last night? Like, does she know her? Are they related? Like, I was just very confused. So I end up like waiting for Regina to leave. And then I go down the hall and I knock on Emma's door and I basically like ask her. I'm like, no chill, just being like, hey, I know this is so random and you definitely don't know me, but I couldn't help but overhear the conversation with do you know that woman? And then in a very un-Emma like personality, she actually is like talks to me about it. She seems really flustered, kind of like ups. Like I think the show makes Emma come off a lot more neutral or like passive or uncaring. She's not like that. She gets big emotions a lot, and I think she tries to hide them.
Oh,
But
that
I think
comes across in the show a little bit. Like, I think,
a little
oh,
bit.
no, I definitely see her having big emotions in the show. But what I see in the show is she has big emotions, but she just doesn't like to show them to people.
Yeah, and so this is one of those times where I think I may have just like caught her off guard or something, because she does like she's extremely flustered, and she actually like invites me in and we sit down on a couch and she tells me like what she's doing here, like who Henry and Regina are, like her like how weird things are, and I basically warn her to be careful because it's a small town and I've had experiences in a different small town apparently in my backstory of specifically like a sheriff being corrupt and there being issues because it was a small town and there was really no checks and balances. So I was like, you just need to be careful, because if you are picking a fight with the mayor who seems to already be really suspicious, I'm just really worried for you. And then later that day she gets arrested. So um, but I just find it really weird, their whole conversation, and seeing Regina holding a basket of apples. Immediately the first thought in my that like pops into my head is the evil queen from Snow White, and I'm just like, I don't even like that fairy tale, so I don't know why I would think about that. That's so random, and I don't
The
think about it again.
irony.
I know. And then I hear Henry, I end up overhearing Henry and Emma talking about stuff, and I'm basically following them because I'm nosy. I'm so nosy, and I really just have no chill apparently, and I pretend to window shop as I like listen to their conversation.
Oh my gosh, just
And
wait
here,
until we get further into the We Free Men. You are going to
oh
love.
my God.
You are like, sorry, this is like a tangent. We're reading The We Free Men by Terry Pratchett right now, but like you would fit right into that world. I just
Oh
gotta
yeah.
say, you would be like, you would 100% be a witch in that world.
100%. So I end up like following like Emma and Henry. I hear him talk, like trying to explain to her about the curse, who she is, and I'm just like, well, I can see why he would think his mom is the evil queen, and the fact that I also got that indication says that there's something going on. This is all really weird. And he's really imaginative, and that's kind of like the catalyst for making me want to stay. It's all those weird things all happening like back to back, because that all happens within like 2 hours. That all takes place in like 2 hours of the morning. And I'm just like, of my second day in this weird town that I just wasn't even on the map when I was driving. So I got those memories. I got memories of me trying to find an apartment and talking to Ruby and asking her, and her being like, I don't know, just kind of like boop, and like bops away. And then she's just like was not really paying attention to me. She was having a really, really good morning for whatever reason. And then Gold, actually, Mr. Gold comes over to me and says that he overheard me wanting or like looking for a place, and he just happened to have an apartment that he had renovated and he hadn't listed it yet. And if I'm interested, he'd love to show it to me. And so we go across the street and he shows me the apartment, and that's how I end up getting an apartment and renting it. Why it was completely unrented and not listed anywhere, I don't know, but the apartment's been empty forever. And it's historical, so I have to take really good care of it. But it's cheaper than staying at Granny's for a week, and I was able to pay my whole lease up front, and that's a whole thing. I had to actually sign a lease in my Storybrooke DR, so
That's how you know it's real.
I know. Mr. Gold will get his fucking money. Let's see. So once I get my apartment, I had basically sold all of my stuff in order to have money, because I had originally been planning on trying to find my family and traveling over the next couple of years. So I'd like saved up a ton of money before I had like sold all my stuff, got rid of my old apartment on the other coast, and like came this way. Like those were all memories. But I do have some stuff, and I had ordered boxes from storage, which do show up at the post office. We do get postal mail from outside of Storybrooke. I don't know how that works, but it happens, because I picked up boxes at the post office that I got from my storage unit. And I have a little coffee bar and a coffee maker in my tiny apartment. It's so small, it's so cute, but like just in this little corner, I just have this little counter thing, and it's got this little coffee bar, and it's like where I keep my little tea
Perfect.
kettle, and it's got little mugs and
Perfect.
stuff. It's really cute. And it has a timer. So I have this whole nighttime bedtime routine apparently, where I like tidy up my apartment, and then I set up the coffee so that it'll be made in the morning, and it goes off at 6 a.m. So I wake up every day to coffee. I've never done that. I didn't even know how to use a coffee maker at the time that I got this memory, and I just thought that was really funny, really silly. So now I know when I shift and I wake up, like I'm gonna end up smelling coffee, which is pretty cool. There's another memory that I have in season 1, which is really silly. Of I think this happens in episode 10, when there's a bunch of storms, and Mr. Gold literally comes and knocks on my front door and basically like walks into my apartment being like, so there's a storm coming. Are you prepared? Do you even know what to do for this storm? And I was like, I mean, no, not really. And he's like, well, I'm concerned about the unit considering it's historical and you've got these big windows. So this is all the stuff that you need to do. These are all the supplies that you need to go, and you need to go do that now. And then he like leaves.
I wonder if this is the storm where we meet. Like if
Prob-
that's the storm that I'm
Probably.
dancing in. Because
That's
like
what I thought it was. I thought it was around this time.
yeah, because like dancing in the middle of a hurricane is 100% something I would actually do.
Literally same.
I would be just like,
So,
danger, what danger? Getting
yep.
struck by lightning? I don't like it's such a small chance. I don't care.
Yep. So let's see. Oh, I also have, this one's a little bit longer, but I had a memory, and I call it a memory. I actually shifted into my DR self's nightmare, but I'm calling it a memory too, because it's a
Oh, I remember
reoccurring
this.
nightmare. But it's basically myself running through the woods. I hear like what I know is my family calling me. I don't know who my family is, but in the dream me knows that it's my family calling for me. They're trying to find me. And then a hooded figure shows up from behind a tree. And then I like start stepping back, and then I turn, and then there's another hooded figure standing in the path in front of me, where I can hear my family calling for me, where they're searching for me. So I turn, and then there are even more hooded figures, and they begin to chase me through the woods away from the sounds of my family. until I'm in a clearing and they like surround me in a circle. If I remember correctly, it's 12 hooded figures specifically. And then a 13th one, like one singular one, like walks through and breaks through the circle. But they surround me in a circle and then they all kind of like descend upon me.
I just had an idea that I'll tell you when you finish.
Okay. And then this is all just from my DR self. So like when they descend upon me, it blocks out all hope and light and chance of escape. And I know they're witches and I know they're who took me from my family. And that's the last thought I have before darkness follows me. And I wake up in a panic every single time.
Or warlocks.
Yeah.
'Cause
I called them witches mostly because I didn't even know what to call them because they were just hooded figures. But at the like, that's like the last thoughts that like flit through like my brain right before I wake up. And I think it's because I grew up in the land without magic. So
yeah. Well, I mean, even in the land without magic, in the pagan community, the term witch is usually
yeah.
refers to a magical practitioner, and the term warlock usually refers to an evil magical practitioner. But it depends on where you grew up. Okay, no, my idea was, what if they're actually all the previous dark ones, though?
Oh my god. That would actually make so much sense.
Especially because I feel
It's
like
foreshadowing for my future.
like 13 is the right number, right?
I think
So like,
so. That's so good. That's so fun.
except that the OG one, Nimue, would actually be not evil, but
Yeah,
that's a separate story. I forgot about that we got those memories.
I know.
We'll go into that later.
Let's see. Oh, I got a couple more. So Emma refers to my apartment as cozy, dark, and Halloween all the time when I invite her over and give her my spare key. She just
Of
looks
course.
around. She's like, it's cozy. It's dark. I like Halloween all the time. I like it. So
Exactly how she would say it too.
I have a memory of, or I have two semi-longer ones from season one. I think these are last ones I have from season one, actually. I don't know which order they fall into, but I also haven't reread them. So I'm just going to go this one. So I have a memory of Henry running over to Emma and I exclaiming about how he knew who I was, like in the storybook. Like there was no context, but that's the context behind it. He then pulled out the storybook and explained that there was a new story added in it. We asked who, and he explains that it was Pinocchio. I screwed my face up a bit and said Pinocchio, and then he flipped to Pinocchio's story because it's just he literally just ran up to us on the side of the sidewalk as we're like just chit chatting and just like no context, just barrel hugs both of us and then just kind of like launches into this. And so then he flips to Pinocchio's story, and Emma's story had been re-added into the book, which doesn't happen in the show, but it happens in ours. Like her whole story that she burned in one of the first episodes, that whole thing is back in the book again. So Emma's story has been re-added in, but this time it's not just Emma. It includes the fact that Snow White had twins and I was the other twin. Like they by name say Hannah in the storybook. As we go through the book, I turn to the page where like I ask if I can see the book from Henry and he like slides it over and I'm reading it. And I flip to a page where I see David putting the babies through the wardrobe, but the actual image of it specifically was David like holding little baby me and this dark green velvet blanket that I was wrapped in. And like there's like this little piece of like parchment, like kind of like pinned to it. And he's looking down at me and 2 drops of blood fall on my head, which is where my white streaks end up being in my DR, which I thought is probably why I have them there. But like it's a very, very clear image of Prince David like holding little tiny baby black-haired me with like 2 very bright red like blood droplets. So I end up reaching up and like touching the strands of my hair before turning to Henry and exclaiming that like we have to go tell Mary Margaret because she's part of Operation Cobra as a way to kind of like diffuse whatever is happening right now because I'm kind of getting a little bit freaked out and I don't want Emma to think that I'm like freaking out. So then Emma gives me a look, but as Henry's running off, I lower my voice and tell her I think August is the person behind the book changes and she should go talk to him and see if she can get to the bottom of it while I take Henry to Mary Margaret's and let him update her on everything Operation Cobra. Emma then asked if I believe it, and I explained, of course not, but if I was now added into the book and entwined in all this, we needed to figure out why August would do something like that and get some answers from him. And that's what ends up like making August take Emma and telling her the whole story of like the enchanted tree and everything. I don't know how far along that, like how many days or like a week or so passes between that, but that's kind of the catalyst that gets her to actually like talk to him and start talking about the fairy tale stuff a little bit more with him.
You know, you think that Emma would at least question if the baby just happens to have the name Emma and the other baby just happens to have the
Happens to
name
have the name Hannah.
Hannah and the father just happens to have the name David, like twice, like, once is a coincidence, twice is a big coincidence, three is like pushing it a little bit. So you'd think she
Yeah.
would at least be like, not to mention the hair thing, like you
Right, and
would
I don't know if she didn't, like, put it together. I don't know if she actually even looked at the pages because I feel like when Henry shows Emma stuff in the storybook, even when she has
she
it and
doesn't
stuff,
really
I don't
look at it.
she doesn't really look at it, she doesn't
Yeah.
really read it, and I think that's part of the reason why she stays so oblivious for so long, because at this point, like, I was already kind of freaked out, but seeing the storybook really freaks me out, and I'm like, there is no way this can be a coincidence unless, like, there's some kind of thing with August. So then the very next one is about August telling me our story. So it's offers to take me out for lunch, but driving out of town and shows up at a tiny hole in the wall diner not far from town. And it's the exact diner that had brought me to this part of Maine in the first place. It's like the one thing, the one clue I had to where where I was from or may have been from because like all of my files had been erased from the system. Thanks,
Mhm.
Sharon. I hadn't
Yeah.
told August of the diner. I hadn't mentioned it to many people at all, actually. So I immediately kind of like launched into questioning him. He then produced a newspaper article I'd seen a million times before, but instead of severe water damage and it in barely legible print, it was full intact with no damage at all. I grabbed it from him and read through it, and it, explained the whole story about an 8-year-old boy finding a baby girl on the side of the highway by the diner that we now stood in front of, and the baby was hours old. I turned on him demanding answers, and he told me if I wanted them, I'd have to follow him as he started walking off into the woods. And I did get a memory that adds into this where he actually ends up tripping and like kind of falling a bit down, and I like kind of help catch him before letting him go and being like, I'm mad at you. I don't know why I helped you. Should let you trip. Because I'm very emotional. I think this all happens pretty like that. The Henry thing and this thing all happened like really not too far away from each other. I followed him, gripping the newspaper article as I trudged behind him. He revealed that he was that boy and that the article neglected to include that there hadn't been just one newborn baby, there had been two twin girls, and apparently they had left out some information because in case they like people who weren't actually the parents tried to like claim a baby, they were going to be like, well, was there just the one? So like the police only released certain information to the newspaper, I guess. And Emma was the girl mentioned in the article. The system hadn't wanted to disclose all the details to defer someone claiming the girl who wasn't her parents, just in case, but they lied. Just as his father had made the fairies lie to Snow White and Prince Charming by saying only two could go through the wardrobe when really three could, and he had taken the third spot. I have memories of him leading me to the tree and me like actually like my hands touching the tree and like putting a hand in the inside and like feeling the damp leaves. But I don't get any memories, like nothing really happens, and I kind of turn on him and I basically just like demand he take me home, and I shut myself away for the rest of the night because I am just putting all the parallels of things I've already been kind of figuring out but thought I was crazy for. And then I have this guy who has been my friend, had been my friend, who had altered this little boy's storybook that I really like to include me into this crazy fantastical fairy tale world. And like I was feeling confused, betrayed, and freaked out, just genuinely freaked the fuck out, because how else would you feel if somebody told you that Snow White and Prince Charming were your parents and you were not from this realm? Like that's just like a lot to take in. And I
Yeah.
basically spent 3 days ignoring everything and everybody, everything weird that happens. I'm like, nope, that's not weird. This is all normal. That's not weird. And as soon as the day ends, like I go home and I just don't look at anything. I don't think about anything. I try really, really, really hard, I think, to dissociate for like 3 days. And then the Henry stuff starts happening with Emma trying to leave, and then like I kind of get pulled back into it. But yeah, those are all of my memories from season, not all of them, but the ones I at least have written down from season one.
Yeah. I think the next one's mine. So the next memory is of you falling into the portal.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. And the only reason I'm telling this is because I'm the one who got this memory. So this is beginning of season 2. Okay, in the show, The curse breaks. Everyone's mad at Regina. There's a mob after her. Emma convinces them to leave her alone for Henry's sake, but Rumpelstiltskin sends a wraith after her soul because he has his reasons. Emma decides she wants to protect Regina. Regina is in prison though because she's still cast the curse. So they're not killing her, but they're keeping her in prison. The wraith attacks her in prison. I don't actually remember how she survives in the show. Maybe it doesn't attack her in prison. I don't
No,
remember.
it does, and Snow White and Prince Charming and Emma all jump in,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's one of the first times that
That's
we
right.
see
That's
Snow
right.
and David being themselves.
That's right. That's right. That's what happens. Okay. And then later they decide they're going to try to send the Wraith through a portal into the Enchanted Forest, which they think no longer exists, using Jefferson the Mad Hatter's hat, which can create portals to other realms. So because wait, no, I'll get to this in a minute. Because there could be an easier way for this to happen, but it can't. And I'll get to that in a minute. And then in the show, Regina is trying to use her magic to get the hat to work. It's not working. David and Snow are using fire to hold the wraith off. Emma touches Regina, and their combined magic and also probably combined love causes it to work. And the wraith goes into the hat, but then grabs Emma and pulls her through. And then Snow jumps after her. The memory that I got, first of all, I think I go find Regina and I'm there when the mob is after her and I am and I'm like, I don't want you to attack her either because I still need to talk to her. And then when she's in prison, I go find her to talk to her because again, I still haven't thanked her for saving my brother. And also, what the fuck happened to you? I don't think she knew who I was pre-curse. And also, by the way, because I mentioned before that I have the tattoo that she saw in the tavern. She she doesn't know that that's me. She never saw my face in the tavern, and up like my tattoo is on my shoulder, and I don't usually wear at least up until this point because I think most of this has taken place like in the wintertime, but like she just hasn't seen me like in sleeves short enough to see the tattoo. So she has at this point gotten to know me, like my curse identity, but doesn't know that I'm the person that she saw in the tavern years earlier. That revelation does not happen until season 3. I think what happens is I'm wearing a tank top in Neverland because it's
Yeah,
really hot in
that's what I was
Neverland.
gonna say too.
Like I think it's just like really hot in Neverland and so I think that's what when that happens. That's a different memory. But so I go find her and in the prison, and that's when the Wraith attacks. And so I think I'm there when that happens. And then when we're forming the plan to try to send the Wraith, I'm just like, well, I'm a realm jumper, so like maybe except, and this is where we realize that Rumpelstiltskin has my point shoes, which so realm jumpers can just travel through realms, but realm jumpers in training, like before you've like fully mastered it, you use like magic shoes like the silver slippers in the Wizard of Oz, for example, to help you realm jump. They're kind of like training wheels. So I am not master enough at realm jumping to realm jump without my training wheels, which are my magic ballet slippers, which Rumpelstiltskin has in his shop. And because he wants Regina to die, he won't give them back to me. And I am pissed about this. I'm so mad about this. Like, actually. Like
As
the
you
fact
should
that
be.
he won't give me back and like he's got some kind of spell on them so that I can't because I think I like snuck in and tried to take them back and
Yeah.
I couldn't and I'm just like give me back my point shoes. Give me back my point shoes. Like actually that would make me like even just thinking in this reality just like how expensive point shoes are just like that in and of itself I would be so mad if someone took my point shoes.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm just like okay, so we need another way. This is why we need the hat because I can't realm jump because I need my point shoes. Thank you very much. Give them back to me, Rumpelstiltskin, you ass. I'm like, this is how I know that I'm connected to this
Yeah.
reality. The most intense feelings I've gotten from my DR self are how mad I am at Rumpelstiltskin for having my point shoes. I think he is such an ass. Like I don't care about like and it's funny cuz like I don't care about like who he is as a person or what he's done in his lifetime. The only thing I care about is the fact that he has my point shoes and he won't give
He
them
won't
back.
give him back. Yep.
That's it. That's all I care about. So we still need to use the hat. And so the difference is that I am now also there and you are there. And in the scene, I think that Regina is trying to get the hat to work. Emma is encouraging her. Snow, David, you, and I all have torches. We're holding off the Wraith. And the plan is that once the portal works, we're going to surround the Wraith on 3 sides. I think like Snow and David are supposed to come at it from 2 sides, and you and I are supposed to chase it from the back so that we can trace it directly into the portal.
Yeah.
I think that is our plan. But my torch goes out. And so the Wraith happens to be like directly in front of me when this happens. And so you like come jump in front of me with your torch to protect me because I now don't have a torch. And at that exact moment, and I should add, the Wraith is here, we're here, and Regina and Emma in the hat are back here. So they're behind us. We can't see them. So the portal has worked. That's the exact moment when Emma touches Regina's arm and the portal works. We did not see that happen. But what happens at this exact moment is the Wraith skirts around the 2 of us, right? To try to get at Regina. You just kind of like swivel on the spot. Just whoop. Like this. It's like do this. It's like almost like this very like dance like I would call it oh my gosh, in the dance worlds there's a term that's like pivot which essentially means you just like immediately go from backwards to front. You essentially like do that to like immediately follow the Wraith. And the Wraith goes into the portal and you just bloop, like just trip bloop, right after the Wraith into the portal. While that's happening, I guess technically before that, Emma has pulled Regina out of the way just before the Wraith gets to the portal. So like okay, so
the happening very fast.
This is all happening very fast. Like
it's all basically simultaneously, so it's hard to determine exactly because I also got the exact same memories.
Yeah, it's hard to describe it in the exact order, but like basically the Wraith swerves around, you swivel to follow it. Emma pulls Regina out of the way. The Wraith goes into the portal. You bloop into the portal, and then the Wraith grabs Emma and pulls her in after it. And then there's like just enough pause for Snow to be like, I'm not losing them again, and jump into the portal, and David to be like, neither am I. But then the portal closes, and then he's not able to get through, and he is fucking pissed. So, like, you tripped into the portal. Emma got pulled into the portal. Snow chose to jump into the portal, which I think you said at one point perfectly describes the dynamic of all 3 of you, where it's just like Snow like is like making like decisions about things. Emma is just like getting pulled around where she doesn't want to, and you're just like, oops, I'm accidentally here. And then like that's just your dynamic, which I love that. And so then like David is fuming about this, and meanwhile Regina and I are just standing there kind of looking at each other like, well, that just happened. And then I think I'm the one that like diffuses. I think David attacks Regina, and then Regina tries to attack David, and then I'm like, okay, we're not doing this. Because the sense I've gotten, especially based on the memories I've gotten of Drosselmeyer and other realm jumpers, is that realm jumpers are like very much peacemakers. Like magical peacemakers, whereas like people like the Dark One is like a magical fighter. Like that's sort of the Dark One's intentional purpose is to be like this magical warrior. And the Savior is also supposed to be a magical warrior. That's like you're the balance of magical warriors. The realm jumpers are supposed to be magical peacekeepers. So I'm there trying to
mediate.
Yeah, that's my job. That's what I do. I mediate. So I feel like this is just like me in all realities.
It's literally.
It's like I'm such like that's just, which is like part of me is like I can't escape this in any reality. Like I always have to mediate for people. It's fine, whatever. I would rather mediate than get involved in drama or conflict, so it's fine.
Yep.
But so I'm mediating, and yeah.
I love it so
funny.
It's so good because it matches with what I thought was gonna happen, and then I had gotten kind of like an inclination memory. That's what happened, and then you got the actual memory, and that triggered the visual memory for me, and I was like, oh my god.
It's so good.
But it's so funny because one of the memories I have is right after that happens, which is me waking up after falling through the portal to a sword just pointed at me from Mulan,
Oh,
and
yeah.
looking at her and Aurora and being so confused, trying to figure out what's going on. I have a horrible headache, and I'm trying to, like, process what's happening, and they're talking to me about something that I'm like, I'm just getting the ringing out of my ears, so I couldn't even process most of what they were originally trying to talk to me about. And then I asked them again, and they basically accuse me, and therefore I, like, look over and see Snow and Emma passed out and, like, this, like, debris stuff of killing their prince, and I'm like, "Your prince? What are you where are we? What is happening right now?" Like, I'm, like, looking around and there's, like, no buildings, no power lines, like, it's just destruction and, like, ruins everywhere, like, I'm super confused, and
I just got
Mugler.
another memory. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good.
No, you finish and I'll tell
Okay.
you afterwards.
But then Aurora literally just, like, basically accuses me of being a villain because I look like a villain, and I get really offended by that, and that's when Snow and Emma start waking up and coming around, and we get taken to the safe haven. That was one of, like, my first memories of season 2. What memory did you just get, though?
Okay, so you know how they think that the Enchanted Forest doesn't exist anymore, and a large part of the first half of season 2 is them, like, trying to figure out if they're even still alive, if the Enchanted Forest even still exists. So the memory that I got is that I'm the one that figures out that it still exists because as a realm jumper, I can sense other
Like,
realms.
realms?
Yeah, but I wasn't trained enough to be able to do that initially. Like that's why I didn't sense it when they were like, let's send the wraith through the portal. This doesn't exist. I didn't think to try and sense it, but then later when David is like, are they still alive? That's when I'm just like, okay, I gotta try to tap into this ability that I haven't really mastered yet and see if I can tap into it. And I think I am. Actually, I think maybe even with Regina's help, I'm able to because she doesn't know anything about realm jumper magic, but she does know a lot about magic in general. So
Yeah,
I think that with her help, I'm able to tap into this ability and sense that, oh, this realm does actually still exist. Because it makes sense that you'd have to know if a realm exists and if a
in
realm
order to jump
exists
there.
in order to be able to jump there.
Mhm.
So I think that we know much earlier on that it exists, and the key is
Me
trying to
too.
figure out how to contact people. It's not like let's try to figure out if they're still alive. It's we know they're still alive, or at least we
We have
know
to
that they exist in another realm. It's just how do we contact them?
yeah.
And I'm just like, give me my fucking point shoes and I can go get them.
Nope.
But I still can't get them back from Rumpelstiltskin. And so we're like, okay, we need an option two because he's being really obstinate about this. Because
It's
I
because
think,
Regina locked poor Belle away for 28
yeah.
years.
Also, I think the memory that I got is actually that this is like almost just as bad in a different way, but I think she forgot about her. Like, I don't think that she was actually intending
No,
for her
no, that's
like, I
that's
think
what
she
I always
actually
assumed
I
happened, was she just simply forgot.
yeah, I think and, like, not once they're in Storybrooke, because once they're in Storybrooke, it's not that she's there for 28 years, it's that she's there for a day, it's just the same day over and over
Over
again,
and over.
because time is funky. But, like, in the Enchanted Forest, I think that Regina had actually intended to kidnap her long enough for Rumple to freak out about it, and then also I think she had intended to, like, turn Belle against him and then release her. And that
Yeah,
would be his ultimate punishment was that she had turned Belle against him. But I think that like other stuff started happening in her life and she just kind of forgot. So she had not intended for Belle to be locked up for that long. She had actually intended to release her and it was kind of an accident, which
yep.
doesn't make it right.
Better,
It
but
doesn't
that
make it better. In some ways it's worse because she forgot about this person, but like also there was other fucking stuff happening in her life that was
she
that
was
was
going through a crisis.
I mean, she really was. Which again, it still doesn't excuse it. It was still a bad thing that she did, but I just feel so bad for all of them. Just like I feel bad for Belle, I feel bad for Regina, I feel bad for all of
It's
them.
bad for
It's
everybody,
bad
but
for
it's okay.
everyone.
They all get the growth and change and character development that they all deserved, as well
Yes.
as thriving relationships, not constant backslides.
I
Totally
just
got.
really want to live in realities where people are able to have happy and healthy relationships and be happy and healthy people because I feel like so much of the difficulties that I have to experience in this reality are really just because people are not able to be like self-aware or emotionally mature. And I just kind of really want to exist in realities where people are more like able to do like conflict resolution and be
Same.
emotionally mature and like restorative justice and self-awareness and like that kind of stuff, which doesn't mean I think everything is going to be peachy all the time, right? Obviously, I mean, like I also think that too, like that, like people like this is kind of like a tangent, but that like people misunderstand the term utopia. That utopia isn't a place where nothing bad ever happens ever and everything is all happy all the time. It's a place where people are able to handle things in ways that cause the least amount of harm. People are able to have empathy for each other and take accountability for themselves and have growth and change and learn and be aware of the fact that other people are also making mistakes and having growth and change and learning, and that we're like, I think that's closer to at least what my idea of a utopia
Yeah.
looks like.
This is going to jump around. So sorry. This is going to be kind of confusing. But I had gotten a memory of a point in our GR where I'm spending about a year in the Enchanted Forest, maybe a little bit more, maybe slightly less. And I'm separated from everybody and I'm with Killian. And after about a month and a half, 2 months, he ends up taking me basically on an Enchanted Forest history tour type of a thing. Like we go to like a really well-known scholarly town and it's kind of like the whole Tangled scene. It's really cute, but we spend a lot of time reading books in the
Yeah.
library, looking over the history of the Enchanted Forest and just like things that I've always been like really curious about because that's the kind of person I am. And I think because I have a memory that I got today from season 2 of us being in the Enchanted Forest and me asking Snow about toothpaste. Like, do you guys brush your teeth here? Like, what do we do? Like, like I'm just like I've got a routine and I'm trying to figure out how best to like be helpful. And so her and Mulan kind of like laugh at me a little bit, and then she says, "Yes, we have something kind of like that." And she takes me into the forest and shows me the plants that you would need, and explains that you just take these leaves off this plant and you chew them, and it basically works the same as toothpaste. But they don't actually have to brush their teeth. Like they don't have dental problems in the Enchanted Forest. Like that's just like a non-existent issue. So it's more for your comfort and for your breath smelling good rather than it being like a health thing.
Right.
Which
And
is
getting
kind of
stuff
what,
unstuck from your teeth that
yeah.
like you
And
don't want to
so
have in there. Yeah.
that I had that memory today, which was so random, literally so random, had nothing to do with anything. And then as we were just talking, I got this like flash of me and Hook like reading books, and I was trying to figure out how the Enchanted Forest basically has a form of indoor plumbing, but it's not the same as what we consider indoor plumbing. Because like they
Magic.
technically, yeah, they technically have like outhouses randomly throughout the forest. So like if you have to go to the bathroom, there's a private place specifically to go to the bathroom in the Enchanted Forest. Like that is a memory. I have one. That is a thing that you actually have access to, but it's not like a outhouse in which it's just a hole in the ground. The dwarves take care of all of the internal infrastructure for the Enchanted Forest
Of course they do.
because
Oh,
they
okay.
love work. They love work. That's their whole passion and they love it. And so different dwarves are born for different things. And they're like, these are all of the different job options that you have. And dwarves just get to pick the job that they want with the family that they want. And then they get to go do that. So dwarves take care of all of the like basically sewage issues, but like it's a whole thing. And dwarves will not tell you the technology that they use or how they do it. You just know that
That
it's taken care
that
of.
checks out. That
Yeah.
checks out. They're
But
just like, no,
that's
you
so
can't know
funny.
our dwarf secrets.
Yeah, they were like the purpose of the whole, I feel like this had to have been like an old treaty or something with an old king like 300 years ago or something like that. Like that's the kind of like the history book that it feels like I was just reading was like from 300 years before any current day stuff. And basically the dwarves, the fairies, and the royalty of the Enchanted Forest all got together and made like basically a work pact to make sure that everybody would be working harmoniously so that way the king could focus more on trade routes with other kingdoms rather than worrying about the other things going on. And so fairies help take care of the mental health issues for people. They're going around trying to help people find their happiness,
Right,
solve the
right, like
problems.
Tinkerbell does.
Yeah, like
Right. And
Tinkerbell
also
and everything. And
magical
magic
issues
issues.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
And
dwarves take
nature, I
care of.
think they do
Mhm.
the nature stuff. I feel like the dwarves are like the technology stuff and
Yep.
the fairies are like the nature stuff.
Yep.
So like they're
Technology,
the ones that are
construction,
yeah, the fairies are
plumbing.
the ones that are going around like, "Oh, you're having a hard difficult harvest this year. We're going to help you with your farm."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of like the pact that they made. So that's why there is a relationship with dwarves. That's why there's a relationship with fairies. The fairies and the dwarves will interconnect to make sure that everything is running smoothly. I think the fairies have something to do with the amount of dwarves that are born in a certain year to make sure that all jobs are always like not only all
Mm.
jobs are filled, but all dwarves doing the jobs are happy. So if they want to move to a
Yes.
different one, they have somebody to replace them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that's just so random. Apparently, that's a book I've read. Like, I literally am like sitting here, like, I feel like I'm still holding it. It's just like a big history book of figuring out how plumbing works in the Enchanted Forest. That's so funny.
Can
Sorry.
I also just say that I love that you and Killian are basically just Rapunzel and Flynn Rider?
I'm literally the lost princess. Like, we are. He like if you guys need any kind of indication, it's Killian Jones from the show, but he's Flynn Rider. Like
He's
that's
just
his
Flynn Rider.
personality.
Yeah.
That's how he acts, that's how he is. That's actually a perfect segue because like one of my first memories after all of that happens is going back to the safe haven after Cora had like ripped everybody's hearts out and makes them little minion army. And I thought I wasn't going to be involved in anything. I didn't think I was going to meet Hook until later. In fact, that's what I had scripted. I was going to meet him, like I was going to be the one to bring him water. And then I got a memory that completely negated all of that. Apparently, I am the one to find Hook underneath the debris. And I'm like, we're looking for people, trying to see if anybody's alive. And I just like gravitate over to this place and I like move this stuff and I see him and our eyes meet. And the first thing I say is, "There you are. I've been looking for you." No context, no nothing. No, "Are you okay?" Just, "There you are. I've been looking for you." Like, what?
I bet
That's
that
my first
confuses
meeting with him?
I bet that confuses him. I bet that confuses you too.
Yeah, literally. And then we have us going towards the beanstalk because we do end up going and doing that. I am the person who climbs the beanstalk with him. But yeah, we ended up having a whole night between when we find him and we could figure out who he is and what his actual plan is, and him telling us that like he has a way for us to like he'll help us if we help him, kind of a thing. And we make camp, and Emma and Snow fall asleep really, really fast. I kind of low key think that he may have dipped into some of Mulan's poppy powder and given them some, but that's just complete, utter speculation on my part because I think he was planning on escaping that
Yeah.
night.
That
But
makes sense.
Mulan and Aurora stay awake. They keep watch, but they're pretty far out. I found a place to unroll my bedroll. Emma and Snow were already asleep, and I like find this like empty space where I can like look at the stars, and I lay it down. And then he asks if he could like saunters over and like walks down this little hill. There's like a tree like right up there, and he stands and he like looks at me. He's like, "Can I put my bedroll over here by yours?" And I was like, "Sure." There's a zillion places in our little camp, but sure, put it wherever you want. I don't care. I'm really trying hard not to pay attention to him because our eyes sparked and I felt something, and I'm really, really, really fighting really hard not to like fall into that because I'm trying to really focus on my sister and my mom. And I'm not trying to fall in love. That was the last thing I wanted when I going into this whole adventure, was to find true love. That was not on my radar. And I meet a guy who's literally perfect for me, makes my soul sing, "There you are, I found you," the first time I see him. And I'm going to avoid that at all costs. That's dangerous territory. But I'm also glad he wants to come lay by me, and I'm not going to tell him to go away. So he lays his bedroll right next to mine. Like they're literally like yoga mats. That's about like the dimensions of them and everything. And they're literally touching each other. And we lay there, and I can't help but look at him for a bit. And I say something really stupid. And then I'm just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I'm just going to turn over and go to sleep now. Like, fuck this." And I think it's because of me saying what I said, which is basically that I was staring at him. He caught me staring at him. He asked why. And I admitted that, like, if like there was a dictionary of perfect man made for Hannah, it would be a picture of him literally right there. So I was going to take advantage of my time gazing at him if I had it, you know? I admitted that. And then I immediately wish I hadn't because I'm me. And we end up going to sleep, and then I have that reoccurring nightmare of the fucking witches, and then I wake up in a panic because it's way more intense because I'm in the forest, like I'm in the enchanted forest, and like it all looks the same as the nightmare that I've had. And so I wake up and he's like in the process of like sitting up and kind of like trying to like gently pull me to him because I think he thought I was still asleep. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? What is happening? I'm like disoriented and confused because I just woke up from a freaky nightmare in the woods that the nightmare happened in. And he basically like asks me like, did you have a nightmare? Like, what was it about? And I tell him about it a little bit, not like in any detail or anything, but I just kind of explain that it's a nightmare. And he says that he understands nightmares too. He had nightmares for years after the crocodile took his hand, and he, and things happened the way that they did. So he really understood nightmares. And he was like,
I remember channeling this for you.
yeah, he was like, do you mind if I comfort you like for the night? And I was like, what if people see? And he's like, I'll make sure nobody sees, like, and I'll make sure the nightmares don't come and everything will be fine. And for some reason I let him. I like kind of just like am curled up into his side just a smidgen. And I fall asleep, and then we wake up right before like dawn and everything, and he never left. He stayed there and asked if I had any more nightmares, and I told him he was true to his word. Like, he kept the nightmares away. I didn't wake up, nobody saw us, everything was good. And then we just pretend like none of that happened. Just none of it. Just never talk about it again. Because that didn't happen, because it was just him and me. He was like, let's just pretend for tonight that it's just you and me, and there's nobody else that exists in the realms, and let me comfort you. I feel like you're somebody who's never been comforted before, and like I really want to do that for you. So so sweet. That was a whole memory though. Like, I think it took me getting that memory 6 times to acknowledge that it was actually a memory and not just some crazy fan fiction scenario, because it just like the emotions and everything felt so genuine, like it was all in first person, like it was a real like lived memory. But I was like, that's just so crazy. But at the same time, that is something that like if there was a guy that I had like clicked with and connected with, like when I in my younger years, and I had had a nightmare and we had been sleeping next to each other, that is the exact same thing I would have done. So it kind of pans out, as much as I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, that's a memory that we have. And then after that, like we wake up and we separate and we like do our morning stuff, and like Mulan and Aurora come back into camp, and Emma and Snow get up, and we all start heading to the beanstalk. And that's when he never told me about the beanstalk. He didn't tell us where we were going. So we had no idea until we get there, and then it's a beanstalk. And then I look at it, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you joking right now? And I know I'm going to go up because I'm not going to let Snow because she has David waiting at home. And I'm not going to let Emma because she has Henry waiting for her home. Like, I don't know why she would think that she would be the right person to go up the beanstalk like that. So stupid. So I go up the beanstalk, and that all happens with
Because
me.
she's stubborn and feels like she has to do everything herself, which is
Yeah,
partly
but
why she's the savior.
yeah, but she does not. She stays down there with
But the reason you
Snow.
were the dark one is so that you can occasionally be like, no, not this time,
You
idiot.
need to just chill. It's okay. I promise, girl. You're
Yeah,
good.
that's like, I feel like that's like a big part of like why your dynamic is like why you're supposed to be the savior in the dark one, because you're partly there to reel her back when she needs to be.
Yeah, genuinely. Those are really the only, like, I think I have a couple other memories like that are in the Enchanted Forest during that time, but I don't have any of them written down, so I'm not even gonna like speculate and recall them. I have some when we get back, but
We could move on to when you get back.
oh, we go, because mine
I
takes place after Archie's funeral. So
I have no idea at what point in the timeline this happens, but it is somewhere within that time where it's just like this memory of Cora is trying to do the manipulator abuser thing where she separates Regina from everyone and tries to make her think that Cora herself is the only one Regina can trust. She's trying to do that bullshit, and Regina and I have a conversation where she's still angry at Snow, right? And her mother is sort of like reminding her of how angry she is at Snow. And Regina and I have a conversation that's like something along the lines of like, Cora had the magic and the power to find out about you and Daniel, regardless of whether or not Snow told her. She could have found that out herself in any way if she suspected there was something going on, because clearly she did. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked. If she suspected something was going on, she could have found it out in a different way. Isn't it interesting that she chose to get the information from Snow rather than discover it through magic or some other way? And why do you think she did that? Because again,
mediator.
realm jumpers are mediators, and therefore we know a lot about human psychology and human motivations. And so, I'm talking about how sometimes abusers will do this thing where they deliberately try to pit people against each other in order to take the attention and the blame off of themselves, which is exactly what happens in the show. I mean, in my opinion, that is why Cora did what she did.
Yeah.
Regina's hatred and blame and vendetta against Snow White is by design. I don't know if Cora intended for Regina to like become an evil queen focused on nothing but revenge against Snow White, but the fact that she blames Snow White as much as she does, because it does seem, when I first watched the show, I was like, this seems a little far-fetched that she would blame a 10-year-old who told a secret for honestly a very good reason when she was manipulated by someone who Regina knows is a manipulator, when that manipulator herself is the one who actually killed Daniel. So
Yep.
it always seemed like the amount of rage and blame she had towards Snow seemed far-fetched to me when I first watched it. But now that I know the things that I know about abusers and the way that they manipulate situations, it actually makes a lot of sense to me because Regina couldn't blame Cora because she was still essentially a child who needed her mother at that point. And she was also used to that kind of behavior from her mother. It's hard to see behavior as problematic when you're used to that sort of behavior and
Hmm.
that's all you've ever known. So Regina doesn't have a lot of context for, and she did blame her mother too. We know that she blamed her mother,
Yeah.
but especially at that point in time, she needed somewhere else to put all her rage because she was unable to put it into her mother.
Yep.
And Cora very strategically manipulated the situation so that that rage would be directed at Snow.
Yep. Because
Um,
I fully believe that Cora knew about Daniel the whole time. She's known the whole
mm,
time. She just needed a reason to have somebody else be the blame so that when she did what she wanted to do, she would be able to
yeah,
do it. And then she just used Snow in order to figure out exactly what Regina's plans were. I think that's why
yeah,
she did pick
yeah.
Snow and
That wouldn't surprise me at all because it does make sense because I think that if Cora had just outright killed Daniel without any other sort of context in there, I do think Regina would have been able to blame her mother a lot
yep.
more. The only reason Regina blamed Snow as much as she did was because she could.
Yep. That's
The
the only
opportunity was
and it's
presented,
easier to blame the third party rather than the person directly responsible as somebody whose
especially if
mother
you
is literally Cora incarnate.
especially if you have that like family entanglement stuff going on.
Yep.
Especially if you are a child, holding your parents accountable for things is very,
Is
very hard. So instead
mhm.
of being able to hold her mother accountable,
She blames
she
them.
she blames Snow. Yeah. And so Regina and I actually have a conversation about that because Regina has already been going to see Archie a lot. So she's been
Yeah.
starting to do some healing work. And Archie and I, who I think have also been talking about this, know that Cora's return is probably the worst possible thing for Regina's mental health and is like the most probable thing likely to cause her to have a backslide. So Regina and I have a lot of conversations about her mother's motivations, and Regina really, really wants to believe that her mother has changed and that her mother actually does have her
Best interests at heart.
best interests at heart. And so it's really difficult for her. I think Regina, because she has both Archie and me and Henry to some extent, although we obviously aren't telling him everything that's
Everything.
going on because
Yeah.
he does not need to have that burden. No child should have the burden of taking care of their parent. But Archie, because she has both Archie and I supporting her, I think she is able to not get sucked back in. But I
Yeah.
think she also realizes that if she doesn't let her mother think she's gotten sucked back in, people like Emma and Archie and I, and maybe even Henry, are more likely to be in danger. Again, she
Hmm.
remembers what happened to Daniel, and she knows how far her mother is probably willing to go to get her back. So Regina And Archie is very against this plan, by the way. He thinks this is a bad idea. If you pretend to get sucked back in, you are
You will
likely
get
to
sucked back
actually
in.
get sucked back in. So my job is to be her anchor. My job is essentially to make sure, and she's actually the one who tells me this. She's like, Regina is the one who asks me to do this. She's like, I need you to make sure that I don't get sucked back in
Yep.
because I know my mother and she will suck me back in. And so I think that she is able to not get sucked back in, but that whole situation is really emotionally taxing on her
Yeah.
because she is torn in so many directions. She's having a time of it. She's having a really
Yep.
tough time of it. And I think that she is taking it out a little bit on Emma,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And actually really on Snow. She's taking it out on Snow a little bit, unfortunately. But she's trying really hard and she's aware even if she doesn't have like full control yet of her own responses to things, she's aware enough of what's going on to start taking accountability when things happen. Anyway, so that's a whole thing. And then also they actually do give Cora her heart back for real, like without poisoning it.
Hmm.
That happens, and Archie thinks it's a bad idea.
I
He's
also, for the record, think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think I'm
Um
the one who scripted this. So.
yeah, Archie thinks it's a bad idea, but I think I know enough about magic to know that it's actually likely to work. And I know that that's going to I mean, I have mixed feelings about it because I'm just like if Cora it's easier to just hate someone who has abused you, but if they can change, that is a good thing, and that doesn't mean that Regina needs to continue a relationship with her, but
That's what I was
just
gonna
for
say, because she has her heart back. She can do better. She could be better, but it's up to Regina and if she wants to continue that relationship with her mom or not.
yeah, and I
So
think Regina wants to, but I also think that it's
I think she's gonna
sh-
require actually seeing some legitimate like change and accountability for the ways that her mom hurt her directly in order for Regina to
I
open
don't
the
even
door.
think it's that. I think it's that she really wants to, but she knows that it's not great for her mental health at the moment. Like it doesn't matter because Cora actually starts at least from what I've gotten, Cora starts changing pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Like she did not realize the effect on her own mental health not having her heart for such an extended period of time actually had on her. She already had issues,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But not having her heart essentially prevented her from healing.
Hmm.
And just so when she gets her heart back, she starts changing and taking accountability immediately, but she also and I think she actually checks herself into the mental hospital. Like I think she's like I need more help than I can get like just from Archie. I like need to be and I've also scripted that like the that it's actually a what it's supposed to be like
It's not an insane asylum.
it's not an asylum. It's a
It's an
place that's
actual place for
it's an
help.
it's an actual place for healing. Yeah. And so she does that and Regina really wants to reconcile with her right away, but she's also like I have learned from working with Archie that I have too much trauma for this to be a good thing,
Yeah.
especially after what I just went through with her, right? So that she's like, I want to eventually, but we need to take some time apart.
Hmm.
It's not, I think for her, it's not even about seeing her mother making changes and taking accountability. It's about what she is emotionally capable of handling. So,
Well, and I say that because like those things, even if you start seeing them right away, it takes you seeing it consistently month after month after month to actually believe that this person might not cause you mental or emotional harm in order
yeah,
to consider opening that door again. And I think that
yeah,
that's what I mean by her like actually taking accountability and like doing stuff.
yeah,
That means that she's actually working on herself. She's taking care of herself with no expectations of getting a relationship with Regina at the end of it, just because she knows that
yeah,
this is what she needs to do.
yeah,
And then Regina, over however long it takes her to get to that point, if she decides she ever wants to open that door again, she could, but it's only because Cora actually went through the efforts of
yeah.
actually healing herself rather
Yeah,
than.
and Cora, from the memories that I got, she puts in a lot of effort.
Oh yeah, no. I
Pretty much,
also have lots of
pretty
memories of
much,
Cora putting in a
yeah,
lot of
pretty
effort.
much immediately. and she actually becomes like this like really wise mentor figure. But I also think, I don't know how or when this happens, but I think she loses her powers at some point too,
No, she
which is
lost the
why.
powers because she got her heart. That's what I said.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
how the candle worked
That's
because
how the can that's right. I
Rumpelstiltskin had
forgot
used
that.
the candle on
Yeah,
her years beforehand. So that way, if she ever did put her heart back inside, it would be his final haha revenge because he would get all of the magic that he had
yeah,
taught her, and he was kind of playing a
right.
long game. So then
Which
when he
is
was dying, he was like, "Oh, well, now I can get all of her power because that'll
right.
boost me right up, and that'll
Which
give
is
me the
why
boost I
all of
need."
our situations aren't just fixed because Cora is so
Yes.
powerful, because she doesn't have those powers
Yeah.
anymore. But
But she still
she does
has
have a
the
lot of
memory of
knowledge.
them.
But
Yeah.
she does have a lot of knowledge, and so she is able to
I would say I have
um
two different memories of me visiting Cora in the mental hospital. One of them is her painting, and another one is just her sitting down. I think she's actually talking to another patient that had been admitted and was just like chit-chatting with him. And I had gone to her two different times to ask her about magic after I had found
mm,
out about magic, and I was
yeah.
kind of learning it myself. And like I don't know what had caused me to go there. I don't know if like Regina had encouraged me or if Gold had put that like notion in my head, but something had told me to like go ask Cora about this specific thing that I had encountered in regards to magic or to learn this new piece of magic. And I talked to her two different times at some point during her stay. I don't know when, I don't know like at what time those like fall into the timeline. I just know she's in the hospital and I visited her twice, both times to ask for advice or how to do this particular form of magic or if she knew a book to go look up or something like that.
I just
So
got another memory of Cora thanking me for telling me that I'm good for her daughter, and like thanking me for being there for her when she should have been.
that's really sweet. I mean,
I'm gonna start crying. Like, actually,
that's sweet.
it's so wild how like your opinions of people can change based on, because like in the show I'm like Cora is horrible, but in like I've gotten so many memories of her actually being like a really sweet person
Yeah,
once
well, it's
she's done
because
the
like
healing.
we never at any point in the show see her with her heart restored and see her be able to do that because that just doesn't happen. Even in the underworld, she acts like she doesn't have her heart.
I would say in the underworld she acts like someone who does have her heart back, but she is just like she is under the power of people who are threatening to hurt her family if she doesn't
Do what they tell her
do
to.
what
No,
do
that
what
makes
they
that.
tell her. Which doesn't, I mean, obviously it doesn't,
I mean, it's kind
it's
of a
one of it's one
non-point.
of
It doesn't
those
happen in RDR
it's
anyway.
one of those rock hard place situations, where
Yeah,
it's the trolley problem, right? Where it's like no matter what I do,
it's gonna be
um
bad or it's
it's
gonna be
it's
wrong.
yeah, no matter, there's no right choice here, there are just choices, or there's just all bad choices, which really sucks. I think, unfortunately, that we are going to have to make this a two-part video
Yep.
because I think I don't know how long. I think it's been like an hour and a half at least that we've
I
been
know,
talking
and we
on
didn't
here.
even get through like half of season two. I knew that we had enough DR memories to fill a whole episode. I was not expecting us to only get through like 1/4 of
Yeah.
the memories that we have because I still have a lot of memories from season two, and we're on like episode
It doesn't
10.
help that we keep getting memories as we're filming. I'm
But
sure
that's
that
what
doesn't make it
I should
easier,
preface this by
but
saying that's literally what I asked for today. I looked myself in the eye in the mirror and said, I haven't gotten DR memories in so long and I'm so over it. I would just really like to get random DR memories all day today. That would be so awesome if that would just happen. And it has literally been all day today, nonstop.
but
So
also I think the majority of our memories are from the first two seasons anyway.
yeah,
So
for the
it's
most part. I have a couple of them that take place in parts of the show that we don't ever see, but that would be season
yeah.
4.
No, yeah,
Season
same.
3. Yeah, that's all season 3 stuff.
Yeah,
So
no, I have some of
I
that
think
too.
this is a good
So
place to end, and then we can open
yeah.
it up for part 2 on my story about our first major off-plot subplot with Killian, which is him being completely removed from one of the big catalysts in the second season. So I think that's where we should pick up the next episode.
All right. Okay,
Bye,
well,
guys!
that was episode 10. Thank you all for watching, and we will continue this in episode
Episode
11.
11. Bye.